Just let me take a sip of my coffee. Ooh, it was too hot. I should have waited. Hello, guys. I'm back again for another nerd venture. I have now basically completely recovered from my pneumoniatic, if that's a word, excursion. So I'll be back doing videos for you, hopefully pretty regularly. So, update slash, I don't know if confession is the right word, but update on the preview stuff. I did not do a previews for May. Yeah, for May. This is my preview video for the June preview catalog, and honestly, just wasn't feeling too inspired last month by any of the stuff that I read, and I also wasn't really loving anything from this catalog either. But I got some messages from people about previews and whether I was going to keep doing them, and the simple answer is I don't quite know. I do like doing them when I have things to talk about and when there is interesting stuff in here, and I'm sure there will be some interesting stuff in here, but the honest truth is some of the publishers that I've been impressed with in the past or have liked their stuff, I feel like some of them are sort of in a holding pattern right now, and maybe aren't putting out that much new stuff that's interesting to me, or at least, like, with people like Marvel, it's sort of more, and DC, it's more focused on like Rebirth and the all different Marvel stuff that they're doing. So for me personally, just for me as a collector of hardcover and collections and stuff, I haven't found that much to be excited about in the last 2 months of stuff. But, I have decided I will do this preview for today, which, man, we're getting more and more stuff. There's like 5 things now you get when you purchase a preview book. So I will be doing the June for August shipment previews, which I am doing right now. Obviously, you're watching the video. But in the future, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle it. I don't know if I'm going to do a video every month, or if I do, it might be scaled down, or I might move towards something that's more like my picks for buying for like the next 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm not sure. Not quite sure. But I know a lot of people enjoy this format, or at least I have gotten some positive responses about these longer format kind of previews things from people who like either listening to them while they're doing other stuff or just are interested in seeing what's coming out. So we're going to dive into the June previews book for items shipping in August 2016. As I said a moment ago, you get more and more things these days. There's the Marvel book, which has always been separate. There's this little Daily Bugle free thing, which was pimping out Civil War 2, which I have something to mention about that in a second. You get the previews customer order guide, and then now Image has started doing their own Image Plus thing. I'm not going to dive into this because it's more of interviews and sort of like preview pages for comics. But if you are somebody who is keeping up with Image like really regularly, and it is your like jam to see all the new things that are coming out, this is a very cool insight into what is going to be going on there. It's sort of like almost like a fanzine kind of like I was saying, with more previews and interviews about their big series rather than like actual solicitation information. So for me personally, it's not that interesting, but if you are a big Image person, then this will be a cool place to check stuff out. It's sort of like a mix between a Dark Horse Presents style thing, in the sense that there is some original content. It's not an anthology magazine by any means, but it's kind of a mix between that and like a traditional preview. So just a little bit of both. So what I wanted to mention about the Civil War Daily Bugle thing before we get into the main chunk book is when you flip it over, this is basically just like a advertisement for a bunch of books that are involved in the Civil War II crossover, but when you flip it over onto the back, it says Marvel Now Fall 2016. So what does that mean? Honestly, I don't even know. I have no idea. For those of you who have followed Marvel for the last 5-6 years, Marvel Now was the name of the relaunch initiative that they had done previously. Currently, as of a couple months ago, they are in the all new, all different Marvel, which was a reboot or a sort of a relaunch of a lot of properties after Secret Wars, after the Ultimate Universe and the regular Marvel Universe 616 or whatever it's called, or 636, 616. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not the biggest Marvel fanboy. I just like some other stuff. But anyways, this was going on before the current Marvel sort of reconstruction post Secret Wars, and then this says fall 2016 Marvel Now. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means they're going to be going back to a numbering system that was consistent with Marvel Now. I don't know if it means that they're just doing a different initiative that happens to be called this. I really don't know. So, interesting little Easter egg tidbit from the Daily Bugle thing is that in some respect, it looks like Marvel will be updating or changing the lineup of what they're publishing, which is very, very soon after they rebooted post Secret Wars. So, I don't know what that means. I mean, reboots are ostensibly important, but in reality, basically meaningless these days. So, I guess we will find out together as the solicitations come out further and further. I mean, next month is going to be all the way into September, right? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Yes, I can do the months. So next month's going to be all the way into September. So I'm guessing, that if they really are relaunching something in the fall of 2016, they're going to have to start soliciting it soon. Maybe it's a post-Civil War kind of deal. I don't know. But just some speculation. If you hadn't picked that up yet, it was kind of interesting to check out. So let me take another sip on my coffee, and then we will start with this big old previews book, getting into the meat and potatoes of what's coming out in the next couple months. Okay. So right on the front, we have the Suicide Squad, featuring the art of Jim Lee, I believe, one of the DC Rebirth reboots. This is obviously the June 2016 previews catalog, number 333 for item shipping in August. On the back, we have a Saga War for Fang little piece. I love Saga, what I have read of it, but I have to say I have not kept up with it. I read when it was coming out in singles. I was collecting singles. This was back when I was sort of first getting into comics, actually, like a couple years ago. Or at least first kind of discovering that I was obsessed with them rather than just casually a fan. So I was reading Saga in singles back then, and then I read a few of them digitally when I was in China. And then I picked up the hardcover, which collects the first 18, but I believe with this we're on like issue 36 or so for Saga. So I am about 18 or 20 issues behind on Saga, honestly. So I have not been keeping up just because of the way I like to read things in collected format. So let's dig right into this bad boy and see what is going on for August 2016. What can you spend your hard-earned cash monies on? All right, and as I am master of the months, as you saw earlier, I am also master of the alphabet, and I know that Dark Horse alphabetically comes first out of the major publishers. I know it's impressive, but the American educational system, what can you say? Sometimes it just produces geniuses. So, the Dark Horse previews section. Let's check it out. All right. Our first exciting piece of excitement. This is something I've been looking forward to for a long time on this side. It's a little bit complicated, but, well, not Mobius himself. Well, he is complicated. But Mobius, my love for Mobius is not complicated in that it is unending and scales all buildings and ain't no valley low and all that stuff. I love Mobius. He, if you are not familiar, was a French comic book creator, passed away a number of years ago. And his stuff has traditionally been put out. Dark Horse has actually had a hand in putting out a number of his things. They did a couple like series, I think like an Airtight Garage, almost like sequel or different things like that. And they put out like Arzak in a few different ways. But the rights to his creations and his comics have been like bounced around a lot. In the 80s, they were printed by Marvel's Epic Comics branding as like a series of graphic novels. And then, like I said, in the 90s, Dark Horse did some of it, but then more recently, from the maybe mid-90s through or like late 90s through currently, it's been handled largely by Humanoids Publishing, which is a offshoot of the company that originally put out like Heavy Metal, Metal Law, and a few other books, basically French publishers who were focused on like European adult anthology magazines. And so with recently, it's been an interesting struggle between Humanoids and Dark Horse about who would have the rights to Mobius stuff, because largely Mobius is tied, or maybe not largely, but somewhat Mobius's legacy in comics is tied to Alejandro Jodorowsky's legacy in comics, in the sense that they've both worked on, they've collaborated on a number of things, The Eyes of the Cat, the Inkall series, was it Mad Woman of the Sacred Heart? There's a couple other ones that I'm misremembering at the moment. But the point is that it seems like now that everything is shaken out with Dark Horse and with Mobius's estate and everything, that basically Humanoids will continue to publish things like the Inkall and books that were collaborative between Mobius and Jodorowsky, and that Dark Horse is now going to start putting out a Mobius library specifically, which is reprinting or printing for the first time in English a lot of these works that were either put out by Epic Comics in the late 80s and then were not printed again since. So they've become increasingly hard to find and rare, or just, like I said, have never been seen in America. So this is really exciting. This is on sale in October, so it's a little bit early for the solicit. It is The World of Adina, which is a sort of science fiction, like mythology, gods, and I don't know exactly how you say it, but it's sort of like a science fiction fairy tale that Mobius was working on. And this collects the main chapters Upon a Star, Gardens of Adina, The Goddess, Stel, and Sra. I believe that everything except for Sra was collected in the Epic Comics soft covers from the 80s, but like I said, those were hard to find, and it was collected in a little bit of a strange way. So this is very cool to see. I'm really excited to get a bunch more of these. I am a little bit disappointed and confused about the fact that it's an 8x10 hardcover as opposed to like this, which is a normal library edition, is going to be an 8.5 by 12 and 3/16. So I'm a little bit confused by that. 8x10 is like slightly wider than a normal hardcover, but it's not an oversize. And I don't know if that means that that's going to be consistently what the Mobius library is going to look like. Honestly, I think Mobius's work deserves larger pages, but I'm always going to be a proponent for oversized books. But anyway, I've talked about this for a while, but it is very exciting to me. Hopefully this will be the start of a long and beautiful friendship between Mobius and Dark Horse, where we get the overwhelming majority of Mobius's comics produced in English, because there's a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is either, like I've been saying, out of print or not in English. So very excited to see this. Got a little George Lucas quote down there, and yeah. For $50 for 344 pages, I mean, I'm not sure. Some people might think that's overpriced, but I think it's perfectly reasonable for how amazing Mobius is. Very excited to grab that. And going across on this page, we have the Fight Club 2 Library Edition hardcover. This is very confusing to me. Oh, never mind. I understand now. Basically, library editions in general, I feel like Dark Horse does a very good job of making them affordable and sort of like their standard kind of output. It's happening quite a lot now. There's like a Goon library, Kabuki library, the Hellboy library, the Sin City library. There's tons of library editions. But this one is actually a $150 book. It is a limited edition slipcase with 50 pages of bonus content. I personally don't know if I'm going to be picking this up, but basically Chuck Palahniuk, who originally wrote Fight Club, has been adapting the Fight Club 2 story into graphic novel form, or into comic book form. I don't believe that there's a Fight Club 2 book, to the best of my knowledge. It was just done as a sequel in comic book form. So if you were interested in Fight Club 2, if that was something that you liked, I don't think it was more than 8 or 9 issues, maybe 10. But if you have been enjoying it coming out in singles, there's going to be a nice limited edition slipcase for you to pick up and add to your collectorial library. Here's another one that I think is very interesting to me. This is the Terminal City Library Edition. I know basically nothing about this, but I have to say that I've been on quite a Michael Lark kick recently, and that is actually seemingly what Dark Horse is banking on, because the bullet point right here is featuring the art of Michael Lark. Michael Lark is a really cool artist. I've read his stuff from Scene of the Crime and a little bit of Gotham Central that I've dug into. But he seems like he's like kind of on the edge of blowing up right now. I mean, he's been a thing for a long time, but it seems like he's becoming, with this advertisement, you can see like almost like a household comics name. He's worked with Ed Brubaker before a lot on both Gotham Central and his Daredevil run, and he's currently working with Greg Rucka on Lazarus, and his art is really solid and really awesome. I would recommend checking out any of those series, really. And so here's is a library edition of Terminal City, which is basically 2 miniseries, I believe. Like one miniseries that's about 5 or 6 issues. I wish they listed here what it actually was. And then another miniseries that I think is 7 or 8, something like that. So I'm going to pick this up for sure. I mean, $50 or retail, you can get it for like 25 online when it's released. So that'll be very cool. I'm into science fiction stuff of most varieties, and Michael Lark's art in oversize. Yes, please. So, Terminal City, another cool pickup from a Dark Horse. Here's an interesting one. Not for me, it's a little bit out of my collectorial interest at the moment, but this is the Stan Sakai Usagi Yojimbo Gallery Edition, Volume 2. There was already a Gallery Edition, Volume 1. I believe, off the top of my head, if I'm remembering correctly, it was basically the first arc of Usagi Yojimbo, I think. Maybe the first arc of the Dark Horse run. And so this is going to be, it looks like a sort of a mix of things. Usagi 65, 74, 75, 93, 103 to 104, 116, 123, 141, and The Artist from Dark Horse Presents Volume 2, 35 through 36. So quite a mix of different things. But basically, if you're not familiar, the gallery editions are similar to either the IDW Artist editions or the DC editions. I think those are also called gallery editions. And basically, it's scans of the original art at the original size. So this one's going to be a 12 by 17 book. They're massively oversized. They're really nice quality. It's really for people who are like crazy fans of the series. But if you are a crazy fan of Usagi and would like to see the original black and white artwork, that'll be available for $125. So kind of a cool collector's piece. But obviously, since it's a collection of different issues and not really a particular arc, it's not exactly like a way to read it. It's much more of a artistic collector's piece. So check it out if you're into Stan Sakai and his artistic style, because he does black and white anthropomorphic stuff like not that many people do. So yeah, give it a look-see. I wanted to mention this momentarily. This is the Hellboy in Hell Volume 2 trade paperback. This is a little bit interesting to me because Hellboy in Hell number 10 just came out today as I'm recording this, yesterday as I'm recording this. And apparently that is going to be, number 10 is the final comic book in the main line Hellboy saga. So this is going to be, like it says here, the final chapter of Hellboy, and this will collect 6 through 10. I'm holding out for a library edition, much like the other ones. I mean, a 10-issue library edition is pretty solid in my opinion, and I'm sure it could be nice and sexied up for collectors. So Hellboy in Hell Volume 2 will be coming out in October. Hopefully we'll get a library edition by maybe the end of the year or the early next year. But yeah, if you are interested in keeping up with Hellboy, now it is all concluded, so it's a good time to kind of jump on it and actually get the entire run collected, which is nice. The Goon Library Edition Volume 4. I have Library Edition Volume 3 on the way to me right now. And then this is going to be Volume 4. I don't know how many libraries there are going to be. I mean, at least 4, obviously. Probably more like 5 or 6. I've actually not started reading these yet. I sort of want to get them all together and then read them, which is a little bit of a gamble because I don't know if it's going to be exactly my thing, but I am going to keep collecting them until I start reading them, and if I start reading them and decide they're terrible, then I guess I will stop collecting them. But yeah, if you're interested, in the Goon stuff, which I know a lot of people have been responding to very positively in this library edition, because I think it was sort of overlooked. I think it was kind of like a sleeper hit series for a long time. I would recommend picking up these library editions, and Volume 4 will be out October 5th. So it looks like that's about it for the Dark Horse stuff. There was some cool stuff in there. Like I said, Mobius Library is just one of my all-time huge requests forever and ever. I've always wanted Mobius to be collected in some more accessible way for U.S. audiences. So, yeah, Dark Horse not so bad this month. You know, some things that are more focused at collectors or people who are a little bit more art-centric, but overall pretty good. So let's take a turn and dive into DC Comics. I just needed to stop here for a moment to talk about how incredibly gross the redesigns for the Scooby-Doo team is. Like, hipster, hoagie-eating, Shaggy, and tribal tattooed bro Fred, and big glasses Instagramming Velma. Like, oh my god, it's so gross. Alrighty, into the collected editions. There's some interesting stuff here. The DC Universe by Neil Gaiman, Deluxe Edition, is kind of cool. I don't even know what this collects. Let's see. Secret Origins 36, Secret Origins Special, Wednesday Comics 1 through 12, Batman 686, Detective Comics 853, Green Lantern, Superman, Legends of the Green Flame. I think this is all stuff from earlier in Neil Gaiman's career. I don't know. At least it looks like it from the cover. Like, I don't know if this was pre or post Sandman. Obviously, it has quite a bit of stuff collected in it, so I'm not quite sure, but it will be a deluxe hardcover, which is pretty cool. I like Andy Kubert. His art is pretty nice, so hopefully that should be some interesting stories. You know, even if they're like one-off stories, Neil Gaiman usually tells pretty good stories, and this will be on sale in October for $30, so pretty good price point, I'd say. The Dark Knight Returns Collector's Edition box set. This is interesting, kind of. I'm not really sure what to think about this. DC started this idea or this trend with the current Dark Knight Returns 3, the Master Race stuff that they're doing, where basically they're putting out an oversized deluxe edition of every issue, and then at the end, when you collect all 8, you're going to have a slipcase that makes a image like this. So it seems like they're going back and doing this with a couple of their older series. I mean, I just don't know what to think about it, because Dark Knight Returns already has an Absolute. There was a new deluxe edition released just this last year, and then there's been trade paperbacks of it. So, like, the ways to own this series are not few. Basically, there's lots of different ways. So I'm not quite sure what I guess this is just for the super fan, I guess. But basically, if you're familiar, the Dark Knight Returns original run was 4 issues, 4 48-page, like, double-length issues. So it looks like this is going to be a slipcase edition with oversized individual hardcovers for each of those 4 issues. So, yeah, I'm not entirely certain who or what it's for, but I guess since they started this format with Dark Knight Returns 3, maybe they're going to look to increase the number of books that they do it with, so then if you are somebody who likes to collect this slipcase style oversized stuff, then, you know, maybe in 2 or 3 years you can have a shelf with all of the big DC runs in these slipcases. So kind of interesting. I'm not going to be picking it up just because I already own this book in this story in a number of different ways, so not for me. Big yawn. But if you are interested in owning it in 4 pieces instead of 1 piece, there you are. This I am excited for, the Flash by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato omnibus. I don't really know much about this at all, except that it collects Flash 0 to 25 plus 23.2. So that's going to be like a 25 issue run. I don't know which sort of time period of Flash this is. I'm not sure if this. I think this was pre-Flashpoint Flash. If you understand what I'm saying, like pre-New 52 Flash. But the reason I'm actually mostly excited for this is because it's a $100 price point. But when it was originally put out on Amazon, it was listed as a $75 price point, and so I was able to pre-order this for $33, which is a third of the price of this. So that was very exciting. You know, it might be up on Amazon still. I'm not quite sure, but if you are interested in this Flash run, then yeah, I would recommend going on Amazon and seeing if you could still get it for $33 because that's a pretty good deal. So this will be out in November. Like I said, it'll collect a chunk of Flash stuff, and I believe that this is, like I mentioned, the pre-Flashpoint stuff, and all the things I've heard online have been very positive about this from different collectors that I've asked about it. So very excited to check that out because I don't know that much about Flash. And then segueing down here, this is the Flash by Mark Waid Book 1 trade paperback, which is also very cool, mostly because I know that this is very well remembered by a lot of collectors and Flash fans. So this was an earlier run, 1990. You know, it says this was basically the beginning of Mark Waid's like superhero writing comics career. And so this collects the Flash 62 through 68, as well as Flash Annual 4 and 5, and Flash Special number 1. So not that much content. I mean, honestly, it's relatively thin on stuff, just a couple issues, but I have heard really good things about Mark Waid's Flash run. I hope at some point it gets collected in like an omnibus or in some type of collection like that, but for right now, there will be trade paperbacks which collect the 90s Mark Waid Flash. Here's another one that looks kind of interesting to me. This is the JSA, the Golden Age Deluxe Edition. James Robinson, who I believe is, I mean, I know what he's written before, the Starman stuff that was very well received, but he's currently writing, what is he? I think he's writing Squadron Supreme for Marvel right now. Either way, a cool oversized. This collects just a 4-issue miniseries, The Golden Age, which is basically about, seemingly from this description, it is a thought-provoking look at what might have happened to DC's first generation of superheroes as they enter the McCarthy era of paranoia, nuclear arms races, and anti-communist fear in America. So it's sort of like, you know, after World War II, when we're in the Golden Age, if we're in the 50s, you know, superhero comics basically died down in the 50s because, I mean, a number of reasons, but in the 50s it was replaced with these anthologies, you know, romance or horror or whatever, but there weren't that many big superhero comics in the 50s, so this is kind of an interesting take on, you know, what might have happened or what would happen to superheroes in the 50s during this, you know, rampant era of paranoia and speculation. So that'll be cool. I will be picking that up when it comes out, if you are a fan of James Robinson, and like that style of kind of like alternative superhero history. I don't know what I would call it, like sort of like like possible histories with superheroes. Looks like it might be an interesting read. And so then this is exactly what I was talking about with the Dark Knight Returns, is a Watchmen version of this, the collector's edition box set, which is going to be all 12 individual issues, each in their own hardcover binding with a slipcase. Again, I think that's kind of odd, but it is sort of the 30th anniversary of Watchmen this year, I believe, coming up. So $125 for this is crazy to me. I honestly just don't understand this format. Because you know, Absolute Watchmen is to me just like the way that I would want to collect it, and there's deluxe editions outside of that, I believe. So. But, like I said, if you're into slipcases and you like having these individual issues, this will be here for you. Seems overpriced to me, but, you know, maybe it's for you. And then over here we have the Teen Titans Silver Age Omnibus. I don't know really anything about this, but this is the Teen Titans from the 1960s. So it collects Brave and the Bold, a couple issues of that, as well as the original, I guess, Teen Titans 1 through 19 series. So I might be picking that out because it does have some big names attached to it. You know, Len Wein, Marv Wolfman, Neil Adams, as well as Bollywood and Neil Adams on art, which you can never pass that tree. That's a good group right there. But I just don't know that much about the Teen Titans Silver Age stuff, so I would have to see interiors of that before I jumped on it. But it does exist if you're interested in the DC line. They've been doing a really good job of collecting silver, bronze, and gold omnibuy of their big series recently. So if you're into the older DC stuff, it is available for you. And it seems like Vertigo doesn't really have much to offer us this week, this month. And then, of course, there's statues and collectibles, which are not exactly for me. So, mixed bag from DC. Some kind of cool things that I do appreciate that they're putting out, some of the older stuff or classic things. And then also some things that I wish they wouldn't spend their energies on. You know, those the box set books, slipcase stuff. I think that they might be better served with collecting things that hadn't been collected before rather than spending time and energy collecting things that are already available in 4 different formats. So, just my opinion, but DC, yeah, it's okay. And into IDW we go. Here's one that is kind of cool. This is the Chris Samney Daredevil Artist Edition. It's funny. This is basically a new type of artist edition for IDW. It's sort of like a more in-depth look at the art. So it has actually 3 different versions, like they say here, of the art. Because basically what it collects is, let's see what it says. The first hardcover featuring Daredevil's issue 23 through 27. So, since the books were lettered digitally, you will see Samney's original art more than before because there's not going to be any letters on it because the original art obviously doesn't have letters on it. Additionally, all of his layouts will be printed here, scanned from the original art. And then a second book will be a horizontal softcover printing with all of Mark Waid's scripts and his and then Chris Samney's thumbnail breakdowns on the script pages themselves. So basically what you're going to get is you're going to get the original art, or the final art that Chris Samney put out. You're also going to get the thumbnail breakdowns of how he, the layouts of how he did them. And then you're also going to get the thumbnails breakdowns on top of Mark Waid's original scripts. So that's kind of cool. If you're like deeply into Daredevil, this is a new way for them to tackle artist editions. I mean, it's only going to be 4 issues, so it's not huge, but it will be a slipcase, sort of like 2-book thing, like it says here. So, you know, ultimately you're going to get these kind of pages, these final inked pages, which are really nice. Chris Samney has an amazing style, and then you're also going to get these pages down here, which are the layout pages, that are, you know, a lot rougher and stuff. And then over here, it looks like basically they're going to do a sideways soft cover, so a soft cover that's as big as the 12 by 17 normally would be. And it is going to have all of the scripts and the thumbnails on it. So it's a really just in-depth look at how a comic gets made, really, more than anything. If you are interested in what it takes to get a script into the final art, this is it, you know, thumbnails into layouts into final art. So very, very cool. It's, you know, going to be at least $100, probably $125 or something like that. But yeah, if you are a big Chris Samney or Daredevil fan, then, or just are interested in the process of comics creation, this is, I think, a very neat showpiece item to add to your artist edition shelf. And then later in the IDW catalog, we get to the Lock and Key Master Edition Volume 3. Very cool, just simply because I haven't read Lock and Key, and this finishes out the series. I have the first 2 volumes of this, the Master Edition, and then I will be getting the 3rd. So I'll be excited to read all of that at once when I get them all, because I have only heard amazing things about it. So yeah, if you have been, like me, waiting to read Lock and Key until it's collected in a nice oversized hardcover, this finishes it off, and it will be available, I'm guessing, in August. They don't have like specific times like some of the other people do, but yeah, 7 by 11 oversized hardcover, very cool. Some more neat stuff. The Cordo Maltese, the Ethiopian, which is the fourth in this series of Cordo Maltese books that IDW has been putting out under their Euro Comics imprint. I believe there's going to be 12 of these total. So, yeah, we're a third of the way through the series, and they've been really high quality, really nice, oversized, like European album style graphic novels from one of the very original artists or originators of the graphic literature format, Hugo Pratt. So yeah, keep buying these if you're interested in them. I believe once they're all collected, there's also supposed to be a artist edition size, like at the original art, 6 of those which collect the same content. So you might want to wait for that if you are somebody who's really into like seeing the original art. But this is pretty cool for right now. And then also a From Hell hardcover reprint from Top Shelf, which is interesting just because I have the hardcover over there on my shelf, but it has been out of print for a while, and this is a different cover. So I'm not sure if there's going to be anything different in it. It just says it's now available in a handsome hardcover edition with a brand new cover. I mean, there was already a hardcover edition, so I'm not sure how this will change anything or not change anything. But if you haven't read From Hell, it is Alan Moore's take on sort of a Jack the Ripper story, but with a whole bunch of extra cultish, crazy stuff thrown in. So, very cool book. Tough read, tough to get through. It's very dense and deep and referential, but yeah, I'd recommend checking it out. Here's another interesting one, Ditko Unleashed. Early 1950. I don't really know what this means. It's basically... Oh, here we go. It is a museum catalog that will accompany a massive exhibition of Ditko work in Palm de Mallorca, Spain, in the fall of 2016. So, I guess if you can't get to Palm de Mallorca, Spain, in the fall of 2016, this might be an excellent substitute for that. It's going to be a oversized 9 by 12.5, so like quite large, oversized book, which collects sort of samples. It looks like sort of collages or samples of Ditko stuff from his creation of Spider-Man and his works with Warren and Charlton back in the 60s, all the way up until more recently. So yeah, if you're into Steve Ditko and are into the art stuff without kind of reading the actual like stories themselves, that might be a cool thing to check out. Well, I feel like I underestimated IDW. There was a decent amount of stuff that was kind of cool in there. So I'm sorry that I was harsh on you, IDW. Let's move on to Image. So Image doesn't have anything in here that I will be picking up. The thing about Image that's weird for me to talk about during the solicits is that they have so many series going on, and I could say a little bit about a lot of these series, but I don't think I have great insight into them, and I don't think that I would say anything that hasn't been said before about all these things. There's cool series from Image. Go check them out. Like that's sort of what I would tell you. So I don't really want to take the time to go through and just look at all of these different series. I mean, basically, I would say Image is currently a very high quality publishing house. So if you like independently created stuff, go check them out. But in terms of collections, it's a little bit hit or miss because it's usually, as far as I understand, it's more up to the creative team than it is up to Image themselves. So I believe, I'm not sure if that's completely true. I'm sure Image has some hand in deciding what gets published and what doesn't, just because of the popularity of different things. But honestly, I just don't have that much to say about the individual series. So while I respect the hell out of what Image is doing, it just doesn't have much for me personally at this time. So instead, we will move on to the separate Marvel book. Alrighty, Marvel previews. Civil War 2 is obviously on the cover. Let's see what we got inside. Whew. So, again, tons and tons and tons of series from Marvel. I mean, really too many for me to address individually, like I was saying. And I honestly don't read many of them individually, or at all, really individually, because I wait for collections. But lots of stuff going on in Marvel. Obviously, Civil War II being the big one, as well as the Star Wars and what's the other licensed stuff going on here? And Dark Tower coming back a little bit. So, I don't know. Lots and lots of stuff. All right, here we have the Uncanny X-Men Volume 2 hardcover. This was weird to me because these hardcovers are huge, like relative to a normal hardcover size. There's a lot of content in here, like whatever. I mean, they're putting it out like this. So this is the Uncanny X-Men run, which coincides with Bendis's all new X-Men run. So I believe that's what it's called. Yeah. So this is cool. I'm going to pick it up just because I want to have a relatively complete collection of Marvel Now stuff. And then on this side, we have the Star Wars Canon, that's how I'm going to say it, Omnibus, which is less expensive and collects less content than this, which is not an omnibus, but whatever. I guess because this is the full series. But this will have the last Pad 1 through 5, as well as the Canon 6 through 12 series. So the entire thing. I have not read it, but I've heard pretty good things about it, and it's nice that there will be these oversized kind of omnibus and different collections for the Star Wars Marvel content. So I know that Darth Vader is ending soon, so this should be like a cool Darth Vader book collecting everything. So very, very glad to see all that. Here's a couple more things that are interesting to me. The Deadpool by Posehn and Dugan. This is the Marvel Now Deadpool, which collects Deadpool 1 through 45. It's a lot of content. Dracula's Gauntlet 1 through 7, Death of Wolverine, Deadpool, as well as Captain America #1 for 100 pages for $100 for 1,300 pages. That's a lot of content for the price. But you guys know me. I'm not the biggest Deadpool person in the world. Find him kind of annoying. So the only reason I would pick this up is because Tony Moore does the art on, I think, the first like 6 or 7 issues. And I love Tony Moore. So it's kind of cool. And then this is an early solicit for December, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy by Brian Michael Bendis omnibus. I have not been picking that series up in hardcover. It's been... I've heard mixed things that people just aren't that super impressed with it. I don't know if I'm going to be getting this, but it does collect Avengers Assemble 1 through 8, the Guardians of the Galaxy series that Bendis has been writing 1 through 27, and an annual, as well as a few different side stories where they cross over some stuff. I just don't know. I've heard a lot of people say it's kind of soulless, like it's basically kind of like Marvel or Bendis has a lot of creative control over there, sort of him and Marvel putting him on this book that is to tie in with like how big the movie was, because the movie was a sort of a takeoff on the Abnett and Lanning run, which everybody really loved, and then the movie came out a couple years after that run, and I think there was this feeling of like, oh well, we need to have a Guardians of the Galaxy series now to coincide with all this because people love it so much, and this is what we got. And I've just heard kind of mostly meh things about it. I might check it out. I honestly don't know. There's some good names on the art on it. There are, like, I like Frank Avila, McNiven is good. Don't like Mark Bagley, but Sarah Pacelli I like a lot. David Lopez is good. Stuart Immonen is good. Diodato Jr. is kind of Art Adams really good. So I don't know. I'm not sure about this one. But if you are interested, I believe this is collecting sort of the first 3 volumes of the Guardians of the Galaxy oversized hardcovers that have been coming out. I don't know. Like I said with DC, like this is already available in oversized hardcover. This is already available in oversized hardcover. I would rather see them put their energies towards either reprinting out of print stuff or finding getting different collections out there to the world. So we shall see. And it looks like the rest of this is all trade paperbacks for the different series that have been going on. Yeah, nothing. A lot of Doctor Strange geared up for the movie. But, yeah, nothing that interesting to me. The Epic Collection line. And some printings of trade paperbacks. Yep, that's about it. A medium month for Marvel. Those Omni are a little bit disappointing to me, just because I would like to see different things collected rather than just the same collections of Marvel Now things that are already out there and are, frankly, critically medium, lukewarm. Nothing really blowing my mind there, but you know, check it out if you're interested. And Civil War 2 seems like Bendis has more crazy things up his sleeve. So the Bendis show continues at Marvel, and we'll see what else they end up doing in the next couple years, or if it's just going to be Bendis all day, every day. Okay, so let's turn our attention back to the previews book itself and get into the comics and graphic novels section. Right off the bat, this is a cool one that I wanted to point out. The Rachel Rising Omnibus, $75 for a standard size hardcover with 840 pages. I've never read Terry Moore's stuff, but I know he's famous for, is it Strangers in Paradise, Rachel Rising, and then I think, is it Echo? Who's the other one? And I know that the the Strangers in Paradise hardcover is pretty hard to find and sought after, so just kind of cool to see a nice hardcover edition come out with this, because I think people have really enjoyed it. So yeah, if you're into Terry Moore, check it out. Alrighty, into the fanographic section. I just think this is kind of interesting because I wanted to mention this book, The Eternaut. This came out a number of months ago and quickly went out of print and then started selling for above cover online. It is a first-time collection of a sort of like radical science fiction Cold War story that was put out in the 50s in Argentina, I believe. Does it say? I believe it's Argentinian. And the creators were like persecuted for it. One of them ended up like leaving the country, and then one of them like left or was like kidnapped or disappeared from like death squad. I don't know. It was crazy. But this I would recommend picking up when it comes back out, because now we can finally get it for a decent price. Same thing with Prince Valiant, which is pretty cool to see the new printing of #1. Was looking around for #1 at a decent price, and I did find it at a comic book store like 2 days before this book came out, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, might want to check it out. Oh, humanoids, how you have fallen. I honestly just don't understand what Humanoids is doing. Every month, their previews, in the previous catalog, all their solicits are just things that exist already. I don't get it. It seems like they use it more for, like, for promoting things that are already out. I mean, the only thing that's the Golden Asses Mila Minara thing is like an adult only oversized. That looks new. I don't remember seeing that. And this Bruce Lee Bruce Lee. I get it. It's supposed to be Bruce Lee. Way of the Dragon Boy hardcover, which looks just goofy, is also new. But I just don't understand it. I don't get what the books are trying to be. Like, I don't understand what Humanoids um, like aesthetic is, or what they're trying to do or promote or say as a publishing house, because it seems like it's all just Todorowsky reprints every month, and then these random things that I don't understand how these fit in with the catalog. It's just all, I don't know. I just don't get it. So Humanoids is consistently disappointing me at this point. I just don't really get what their game is. Titan Comics has a couple cool things. The Mandrake Magician and Flash Gordon dailies. I'm still waiting for them to put out the third of the Drouillet book, but until then, I guess it's cool that they are at least sticking with some non-Doctor Who stuff and giving us some of these old strips. So I do have some of the Flash Gordon Sundays and some of the Tarzan Sundays. So I don't think I'm gonna pick up the dailies because I don't know. I'm just not that interested in the dailies. But yeah. If you are interested in that old-timey 30s, 40s strip stuff, then Titan has you covered. This is kind of cool. I just wanted to stop here for a moment to look at the Yoshitaka Amano illustrations. A collection of gorgeous full-color art pieces, interviews, and sketches by Amano, renowned for his work on Final Fantasy, Vampire Hunter D, and The Sandman. I really like Yoshitaka Amano. I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong, but he did the Final Fantasy concept art, which you can see some of the stuff down here. He did some Vampire Hunter D stuff. I have a couple of his Final Fantasy art books, and they are gorgeous. I mean, his style is really, really cool. Especially, I like his character stuff. Like, I think his character design stuff is neat, but more the stuff where he like does these full worlds and crazy big layouts and spreads and stuff are really beautiful. So if you are into Amano, then you should check out this, because it looks like it's gonna be a nice 20-page full color soft cover, just kind of covering like a best of kind of deal. So there are different collections available, like I said, for the Final Fantasy one and for the Vampire Hunter D stuff, and those are all available through Dark Horse, I believe. So if you want like a greatest hits kind of deal just to see what he's all about, Viz is putting out a cool book. You should check it out. Alright, so I think that's about it for previews. Yeah, there was not all that much, I have to say, in the sort of general comics and graphic novel section that was of interest to me. Some of the people that I follow frequently, Titan Comics and Fantagraphics, Humanoids and stuff like that, it feels like, at least with Humanoids, like I mentioned, there's some stagnation there, and then Titan and Fantagraphics are kind of hit and miss depending on what they're putting out, because it seems like they go months where they don't print any old stuff or anything that's super interesting, and then they'll go a month where they do a couple of them, so hard to know. But hope you enjoyed this flip through of the previous book. There was more in here, I think, than I gave it credit for. Just looking through it again on camera, I did find a couple things to talk about, obviously. It's easy for me to take up an hour talking about anything. But if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave comments about what you're looking forward to in previews, what you're going to be picking up this fall from this book or other books, or the previous book that you've seen. And if you are interested in hearing my lovely voice, there's also a podcast I'm on called Get a Cat, Get a Horse. All the links to my social media stuff, as well as my Twitter, Facebook, and podcast will all be in the description below. So give them a look-see if you are interested in following me any other places, and I would love to hear from you guys, like I said, in comments or in any messages on those other social media things. I love answering questions and talking about what I'm reading now. So thank you so much. Nerd Adventures signing off. I'll see you guys in my next video.